Hi everyone, this is Karen Hooley. I hope you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can't. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time for people to pop in. So I'm gonna work on a project. I'm actually crocheting a baby blanket for my future new great nephew. Sorry. One of my nephews and his wife are having a baby in September. And so I thought I would, well, I always make blankets, but I wanted to get it done early because of the move this year. So I'm working on, let's see, and we're using Red Heart Bunches of Hugs, and it's the colorway Dragon. I always like to do baby Afghans for my nieces and nephews in an acrylic yarn because I know they don't understand the complexities of yarn and how you take care of them. So this way they can just toss it in the washer and be done with it. Hi, Brad's mom. You're working on Downers Grove. You're working in Downers Grove at the jewelry store today. Could you tell I really wanted your I was up at 2 a.m. Please. Yay! I'm so glad, Linda, you got a copy of the book and you got a goodie bag. Today I'm going to, I just got a text from somebody. Hang on one second, guys. I just want to hear, oh, you can't see or comment, but you can hear me. Linda, can you see me on the screen? Karen, have you gone to actually YouTube itself, like click to go to YouTube to watch and see if it makes a difference? Oh, you got me now. Okay, cool. I'm worried. You know, I do post on social media the link to my website. But if you're having problems there, you should always definitely go to YouTube itself to look for the live stream. And if you haven't already and you like my streams, definitely hit subscribe, which is down in the bottom right corner underneath the picture on YouTube. And if you subscribe to my channel, it'll send you a notification depending on how you set up your notifications to sometimes it'll do it right to your, if you're on your desktop, right to your computer, you can get it to your phone, or it just will tell you if you're browsing YouTube. So depending on how you set up your notifications, it'll let you know when I go live. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me. We're actually going to talk about my new book because today it went live to the general public. Yesterday, I had a special pre-sale for my newsletter subscribers, and I had a lot of newsletter subscribers order the book. So I'm really grateful to all of you who have already started the process. But today it's open to the general public, and so if you really like the book as far as what you've seen so far, let your friends know who are crocheters. And we can, I'm going to turn off my notifications on my phone because now my family is texting me. So there we go. No more notifications. I didn't realize that the phone was dinging. Okay, so thanks for refunding the book. Yeah, you know, I had to shut PayPal off of my website right now because I cannot figure out why it's charging extra for postage. That's why you only have the option to use Stripe at the moment. I have a note into PayPal to see if, you know, they can help me, you know, put in a support request. Haven't heard back from them yet. I went through all of my settings and I can't find it. So I don't know if it was on my end or on their end, but Stripe isn't having that problem. So I may just stick with Stripe from now on. Just because I have never had an issue like that. So I appreciate you noting that you got the refund. It was just the weirdest thing. I've never had that happen before with PayPal. I've had other problems with PayPal, but not that. And I don't like my customers thinking I overcharge them for stuff. So I will always refund whatever PayPal does. Or even if Stripe ever did that to me, I would do that. So what are you guys working on? Anybody got a project going? I'm going to start talking about the book in a little bit, but I wanted to just make sure that people were here. If you're here, I noticed there's a few more people who've joined us. Stop in and say hi. If you can't, from my website, do the chat. Make sure you go over to YouTube and and check in with all of us. I'm going to put this back in my bag. It's really funny. I didn't even think about it. I was packing my office, as you can tell, to get ready for putting the house on the market. There's still a couple things we need to have done. Tomorrow we're having the carpet replaced. So that big box you're seeing right there, that's the new closet doors for my closet that need to be added. There's a couple other things back there that we're moving into this room, and then we're going to recarpet the entire downstairs. So outside of my office is going to be carpeted first, and then we're going to move everything out of my office and have them carpet in here and put the carpet in as well. So my room's starting to become a storage. But anyway, I didn't even think about it, and I packed all of my project bags. Is that too funny? And so now I am using paper grocery bags for a project bag right now for something this big. So you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Who else is here? And let me know what you're working on. And then we'll start talking about my new book and a few things that are happening over the next couple weeks. I know I've got Linda here. Anybody else here? I know, Karen, you said you're here. Are you able to type? I haven't seen you come up and type. So let me just make sure you didn't text me while I shut my notifications off. No, you didn't. Okay. So anyway, I told you earlier that today was launch day for the pre-sales of Modern Italian Lace Crochet. And I know I've posted a lot of the pictures on Instagram and on my blog so you can see the projects and find out about them. But I wanted to talk a little more in depth about the projects themselves and the book. Just for those of you who may not have ordered it or not have seen it or want a little more information about the projects. First of all, I wanted to say that this book is a love letter to my nonna. I said that before. Hi, Bonnie. You're working on some recordings of undisclosed goodies. Don't we all have all that undisclosed stuff to do? It's crazy. I have so many projects sitting here actually on my desk that you can't see, that I can't show yet right now. But anyway, this book is a love letter to my nonna, who taught me to crochet. And actually, earlier this month on May 7th was the anniversary of her death 28 years ago. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 28 years ago. Wow. Okay. Whew. Okay. It's been a long time. And I really wish she could have seen some of the things I've done. So this was kind of my way to take what she taught me and share it with the world, and kind of as a thank you. So at the very beginning of the book, it's dedicated to my nonna. And it was hard to write a little dedication to her, but was even harder to do was to actually write the introduction. And I want to show the first couple pages of the introduction. That's my nonna when she was born, or when she was a baby, I guess. Not when she was born. She was a little older. But that's probably the only baby picture we have of her. And then this is her passport picture. I don't know how clear I can make that, but this is her passport. She was born actually in San Francisco, and she was born in 1903, and in 1906, the earthquake destroyed her family's home and business. So they moved back to Italy when she was 3 years old. And when she met my grandfather, which is a whole other story that you can find on my blog, in Italy, he came to the United States first, and then I want to say it was 1926 or 27, my nonna wrote to my great-grandfather asking for my grandmother's hand because they fell in love in Italy. And he said yes. And my nonna got on a boat and traveled back to California and met her brother, who was already living here in the United States, and my grandfather. And she she landed in 1929, May of 1929, and lived with her brother until she and my nonna married in September of 1929. And so this is her passport when she came back to the United States. And because she was married or born in the United States, she had dual citizenship with Italy and the United States. So this is her American passport to come back to the States. And this is her picture. And I have posted on my Instagram, if you search, and actually I think I posted on Facebook too. There's a picture side by side of my daughter and my nonna, no picture of my nonna, and how much my daughter looks like my nonna. So it's kind of like I have a living part of my nonna with me. So anyway, so the very beginning of the book, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of her story. Here's another, that's the next page. And then the very last page, there's some pictures of me with both my grandparents. The pictures of me with my nonna by myself were not good enough to have printed in books. They were so old, and even scanning them, I couldn't get them clear enough. So I got some older pictures of obviously my wedding day. And this is right before my wedding. The basket that she's holding in her hand is actually the basket my mom used in her wedding just to pass out her wedding favors. And she recovered it and put new lace on it and stuff to make it new for me to be able to use at my wedding. So I was grateful that she was there for my wedding in September of 1990, because we lost her in 1992. So I had her for a couple of years after I got married. But then my books, if you've bought any of my books before, you know, I always have a section on how to read a chart before you start talking about gauge and substituting yarns, how to read a chart. I always have the abbreviations in there. This year I added something new, and I added a yarn weight chart. And the yarn weight chart, I have a lot of Australian followers now, and they always ask me when I say fingering weight, what does that mean in their terminology? So this chart has the US terms like lace, fingering, sport, DK, then the UK terms, the Australian terms, and what the recommended hook sizes are for each one of those weights of yarn in the millimeters. Now, the reason I didn't add the US, like USE 4 or whatever, is because the brands of hooks, and I know Bonnie who will agree with me, the brands of hooks are not consistent with what a G hook is and what an E hook is. And, you know, you find brands that are so different in that respect. So I did it only in millimeters, so that if I said, you know, 3.0 millimeter, you know that you can use that hook with a fingering weight. And you can even use it with any, you know, with the lace weight too. It's not set in stone, but those are the recommended usually by the yarn companies and things like that. But I'm a rebel in that respect. And I tend to want to use hook sizes that are different than what the yarn labels recommend. I have my favorites for different weights. So whenever you look at my patterns too, that's a guide for you. It's not so much an absolute must-have for that hook size. I also have a section on blocking. And I always have a section on blocking, because blocking is your friend no matter how much you hate it. Blocking is your friend. It hides a multitude of errors in your projects. If you have errors, if you've got a loose strand somewhere, it somehow magically tightens them up. It makes the stitches more uniform. If you're working with lace, which is what this book is basically about, blocking will make your fabric open up and hold those holes that you want, like here on the cover where she's got all these big holes in the fabric. You definitely want to block to do that. Oh, yes. Yes, Bonnie, so many inconsistencies. Yeah, I think some days that it's worthless to even have the lettering system. I know it's something that's been there in the United States for years and years and years, but it's so hard when I pick up a G, and sometimes it's a 4.0 and sometimes it's a 4.5. You know, it just drives me crazy. So, yeah, millimeters are the best way to do it. But now what I want to do is I'm going to go through the book a little bit, and I'm going to show you the actual patterns in order. So the very first pattern in the book is Arquitectura, which is is architecture translated into English. And here is the original sample. It's made with polka dot sheep tenderfoot in the colors. Pygmy is the variegated, and pumpkin is the bright terracotta color or pumpkin color. And what I like about this shawl is that it's done in every single color change changes the stitch pattern. It's kind of, I designed it for those of you who love lace, are a little afraid of lace, and you start with something really, really simple and you work to a more complicated pattern at the edging. So it's hopefully, if when you make this shawl, it will build your confidence in making lace projects. So that is arquitectura. Okay. Then the second pattern is costiera. I can never say that word when I say it the first time, which is coast. And agreed, the millimeter size is more for knitting and not crocheting. I always bump up a size from yarn. Yes, yeah, I always tell everybody that too, is that the size hook that most yarn companies recommend on their yarns, that's a good point, Bonnie, is for knitting needles. I mean, so if you pick up a worsted weight and it says to use a 4 millimeter hook, I mean, yeah, it'll usually say a 4 millimeter knitting needle and a 4 millimeter crochet hook. They just immediately go across the board and assume that crocheters are going to use the same size hook. I always go up at least 1 hook size, depending on what I'm making and how the yarn works with my swatch. You know, sometimes even going up 2 or 3 hook sizes will make it drape better than what the yarn label tells you. So usually with my crochet patterns, and I can only speak to my crochet patterns, but the hook size that I'm using in the pattern with the yarn is already been bumped up at least 1 hook size. I can't guarantee that with every crocheter out there, but that's the way my patterns are written. So, but again, as a crocheter, your gauge is different than mine. So you may have to go down to the original hook size to get the gauge that I got, or go up even more to get the gauge that I got. I have a lot of followers who have to bump up their hooks 1 to 2 sizes from what my gauge is. Okay, so this is costiera, which is coast. And this is a very traditional Italian style lace, okay? Italian lace, if you've ever studied laces at all, Italian lace always seems to have some sort of mesh in it. In this case, this is a very traditional, just a chain loop, you know, chain however many, single crochet in the next chain, crochet however many, single crochet in the next chain. But it's got the addition of, I'm going to pull the edge up. This is also another shawl. This is a rectangular shawl. But when you look at the way the mesh is, in the middle of the mesh, I've got this cool little kind of chevron pattern. When you put it on its side, it looks more like diamonds, but when you're wearing it, it's going to look like a little bit of a wave. That's why I called it costiera. But what's nice about Italian lace, and this is something that not a lot of people know, is that Italian lace is compared a lot to Irish lace. But if you go back in history and study Italian laces are not 3-dimensional. Italian laces are very, very flat and very, very shape. You know, they have a lot of shapes in it. So like a traditional Venetian lace has flat circles, flat rectangles, flat triangles, maybe flowers, but they're flat. They're not raised like Irish lace. Now, as history moved on, Italians would incorporate some of that, that 3-dimensional stuff into their projects, but all of that came from Ireland. But if you start reading about the Italian laces, all pretty much flat. So loops, a lot of mesh, and then flat shapes. So like even in the center of these diamonds, there's just a little flat shell that's in there. So that's the second pattern. This one's made with Willy Wonka. Oh, I have the tags. I forgot to put the tags on there. This is Willy Wonka's Erenhad sock in the color Sea Dragon, which was perfect for something that was named Coast, I thought. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is piazza, which means square. And if you've ever been to Italy, you know all the major cities have piazze, which are squares usually in the middle of the town. And, you know, like St. Mark's Square, the Vatican even has a square. Rome has their squares. And that's usually the places where people congregate. There's stores there. It's usually where you meet people. Sometimes they even have outdoor convention type things, stuff like that. But it's the main source of interaction in Italy. So this is piazza. Let me turn it so it's right side out. And I call it piazza because this is Venetian lace. It's traditional Venetian lace squares that are crocheted as you go. So let me show you the big picture in the book because it's easier to see with this particular pattern. There's costiera, and piazza there's piazza. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see there's 4 squares at the bottom, 5, and then 6 at the top. So you start actually working at the top edge, and then you keep adding squares as you go down. And in the pattern too, I do have a chart showing you how to add the squares to make it work out easier. I mean, I've tried different ways of adding these squares together, and starting at the top row and working down seems to be the easiest way that I can make this work for you guys. The other thing about this particular stitch is, again, you saw there was a lot of chain holes. I mean, that's true of all lace. Chains make the holes, but Italians really, really use that a lot in different ways. So, you know, all of the spaces here are all made with chain loops or chains. And then the other thing that makes it Venetian lace is that usually if it's a solid piece of Venetian lace, any chain is covered with single crochets. Not in the case of this particular pattern. The outer edge is the only one that's covered in single crochet, and it's done as you are joining as you go, except for the first square. The first square, you just do it all the way around. And then the second square, you single crochet around the chains until you get to the points where you have to join. And then you do that, and then you continue on the chain. So that's kind of a little tip on how to recognize if something is an Italian lace, is they really like to cover those chains. And a lot of times there's picos in them. And growing up learning picos, I hated picos. Even to this day, they still make me cringe a little. So I don't use them very often unless I absolutely have to. Does anybody have any questions on any of these so far? Or are you guys just listening and learning a little bit? If you have one, I have some boy hooks that came in a 3-pack. There's a giant end hook, and the millimeter size is listed as the same as another end hook that came in a full set, but the one from the full set is noticeably smaller. That's interesting. Are they both boy hooks, Linda? Because, well, boy, back in the day, they used to make their hooks in Mexico, and I believe at the same time in the United States. And I do know that there were some variations between the U.S. and the Mexican. Bonnie, do you remember any of that? I remember way back when I first started designing on the crochet list, crochet partners, there was a huge discussion about that on that list. And I cannot remember what the whole thing was. I just know that I have moved on to different hooks that are exactly, both are boy. Yeah, so I'm wondering, sometimes you can tell from the hook they have like made in Mexico or just Mexico on them. See if one of those sets has Mexico on it. But I do know there was a big thing about whether they were made in the United States or Mexico. I would check that. Okay, so the next pattern is strade, which is streets or roads. We use it interchangeably in my family, but strada, it traditionally is roads. But strade is a tunic that is sized up to, it's sized from a 37-inch bust to a 70-inch bust. So you've got small, medium, large, 1X, 2X, 3X, and 4X. It's meant to be a little bit loose. That's why the small is such a big size. I used, oh, I forgot to mention, with Piazza, this is also Woolly Wonka Nimu sock in the color Hydrangea. So Woolly Wonka and I have worked together for a long time. I love her yarns, but she also did all the photography for my previous books. This is the first time in this book I used Gail Zucker, because Woolly Wonka, Anne Podolak, she no longer does photography. She's gone strictly into designing and dyeing. So, but I love her yarns, so I highly recommend her yarns. Now this one I used Anzula's Breeze in the color Birdie, yes. And this is strade. It's the medium size that I made. But even though I am usually in an extra large, sometimes a 2X, depending on how the ease is, this actually would almost fit me. I mean, that's how much ease is in there. I probably would go up to a large instead of a medium on this one to have enough ease. So it's meant to be oversized. It's literally a cotton, or no, it's a linen. It's linen and silk. It's 60%, 65% silk and 35% linen. So that's what gives you this cool drape, perfect for those hot summer days, or if you live in like Florida or Texas or Louisiana where you get a lot of humidity. This yarn is perfect for you. The full set was made in the US, and the 3-pack was made in Mexico. There you go. Oh, there you go, Linda. That's the reason. That's the reason why they're different. But strade is, what I like about strade is there's no shaping except at the neckline and then for the taper of the sleeves. It's a drop sleeve. So when you're working all the way up, it's just straight until you get to the neckline and you just do a little shaping at the neck. So it's the perfect first garment for a new crocheter who's never done a garment. So I highly recommend strade for new crocheters. Okay, then there's a lot of pages for that. Then there's finestrelle, which is windows, and that is a hat. Pull it out. And this one is done in Emma's yarn. I don't know if you know Emma's yarn, but Emma is the daughter of the owner of Four Pearls. And when she was 15 years old, she did a yarn dyeing project for a science class. She was homeschooled and dyed some yarn, and she loved it so much that she started her own yarn dyeing business. She's now, I think, 20 or 21. And she's got this booming business, but her yarns are amazing. Look for Emma's yarns. But this is finestrelle. And I call it that. Well, the stitch pattern, if you look at it, there's little, again, you've got all these little flat open mesh areas with windows that are like 2 rows high and 4 stitches across and 2 rows high in double crochet. That make this cool little hat with pom-pom. And the pom-pom, because it's been in the box, has got kind of a flat spot now. But this is an easy first hat. There's no shaping. The way you cinch it up at the top is what makes it close really nice. And it's got a little bit of a slouchy look to it. It's hard to see, maybe it's in this picture that you see a little bit of the slouch in it. So that's finestrelle. Then there's il velo da sposa, which is the wedding veil. This is also another traditional Italian motif with the triangles. Italians love triangles. I can't even tell you how much they love triangles. I don't know what it is. But again, you see the chain meshes? That's super important in any Italian laces, those chain meshes. Everything I've shown you has some sort of chain mesh in it so far. So this is velo da sposa. It is a topper poncho style thing with long arms, but I want to show you the actual sample because the pictures don't show this, but let me get this out and make sure I've got the right side showing. Well, first of all, there's no edging that you need to put on it. The way it's crocheted, you get that cool edging on the bottom where you see it. It's hard to see here, but it's like a shell edging. And you also have it up at the top. And I did that on purpose for two reasons. One is I don't have to edge this. And number two, it's easier to seam. But the cool thing about this, and I'm going to put this on so you can kind of see it. Now, so you put this on, and you've got these long tails, but the long tails have a slit inside so that when you're wearing it, you don't have that extra fabric in your way. So if you're out at the store and you want to write a check, you don't have to worry about the fabric getting in the way. So on both sides, I didn't put the side on right, but on both sides, if I can get it to lay properly on me, the shirt. Okay, so there you go. So you've got a little extra fabric on either side that kind of hangs that gets the fabric out of your way. So that's Vela Disposa. It's made with Round Table Yarns, another one of my favorite dyers. You've probably seen her in all my books so far, except for last year's, because last year's was Universal, and I'll talk about that later. But this is her I Sold lace in the color Uther, I think is how she says it. So Round Table Yarns is another yarn company I highly recommend. Okay. I'm sorry you think it was boring, Jake. Are you a crocheter? Okay, so obviously he's going to be one of those spammers. I'm going to hide him, and I am going to report him. Okay. He has now been reported. Okay. So hopefully he will no longer be bothering us. Okay, so next one is Maniche e Scarpa, which is sleeves and scarf. The reason I call this sleeves and scarf, because you can see here, it's kind of a bolero style shrug, but you can also unbutton it and it becomes a shawl or scarf. Here's the bolero. You can see the back side. I'm going to pull that out here for you in just a second here. So this one is, again, this is a super, super traditional Italian lace. It's made in probably my all-time favorite. Hang on again. We got another guy coming in here. And probably report him too at this point. Anyway. Okay, sorry guys. This is the one thing about being live is that you have to kind of deal with the people who want to just come in and be mean, and because they don't have anything else to do. That's the only thing I can figure out. Anyway, so this is probably my all-time favorite dyer, Smozzarella Yarns. She's local to me here, and she's out of Snohomish, which literally from my office window, she's probably like 4 miles that way. This is her spectacular base. It's a fingering weight, and it's in the color 3 up, 2 across. And so Spectacular has stellina in it, so you can hardly see it here, but it's there's gold stellina in there. And I'm gonna again block another one. This is just ridiculous. Hide this user and block. Oops. Hide. And remove. Okay. Anyway, so this is, again, a traditional Italian lace shawl that has, again, all of that thing is shells. Shells are always a flat type of texture that Italians use. And you've probably seen through everything that there are shells pretty much in everything I've done. But in this case, I wanted to highlight the shells because it's literally just shells and chain stitches with a couple of double crochet edges on the end. And again, there's no edging involved on this, but you can see here where I did buttons that were kind of the same color. It's kind of hard to see. They're kind of the same color as the fabric because I wanted them hidden for the photography, but there's no reason why you couldn't actually make them, you know, pop so that even if you're wearing it as a scarf, which I'm gonna, you know, the buttons might show up and give you a little pop of color. So this is Monica Escarpa. Okay. Then the next one is my cover. It's parentesi, which means brackets in Italian. Well, parentesi is a turtleneck lace sweater that's meant to be worn either over a cami or a turtleneck or whatever you want to do. I'm going to do this again, guys. Hide this user. And I'm going to report him because he's getting to be a little bit of a jerk. Okay, so anyway, what I love about this pattern is its brackets. So again, the lace mesh here, you've got here with all the chain stitches, but the little shapes in between the chains remind me of gnocchi. If you guys know Italian foods and pastas, gnocchi, it just has that that look. It looks like what my nonna used to make when she made gnocchi. So this is another Emma's yarn again, and it's her beautifully basic fingering weight yarn in the color, which is, I absolutely love this. Wish You Were Beer. If you are a Pink Floyd fan, you don't know how. My husband is a huge Pink Floyd fan. And Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Beer is almost even better for my husband. So I love this colorway, but it reminds me of the terracotta and the golds that you see in the Italian countryside and things like that. So that's why I picked this yarn color. This one is also sized. Hang on a second, guys. I need to. This is such a pain. I know. I just feel like I should be reporting these as they happen because they're just obnoxious. Anyway, this one is sized 9 sizes from extra small to 5X. It goes from a finished bust of 34.5 inches to 66.5 inches. And this one is meant, if you looked at the cover picture, is meant to be a little fitting. However, you can make this looser if you want. It does not have to be this form fitting. So you get to pick your bust size gauge. And the cool thing about this is it's also a drop sleeve, so there's no shaping going up. It's only in the neckline where, good Lord, people. Okay. Only in the neckline where you have to do any shaping. So, and you can actually lengthen the sleeves if you want to. I did 3/4, or actually it's more like a half on her, but on me they were 3/4 sleeves. So it depends on your height too. So you can adjust those, but it's, again, no shaping. So you can actually make it wider if you want to add more inches to it. So there's that. And, you know, I don't know why today I'm getting all of these weird people. Report, harassment, harassing me, report. Okay. Anyway, so again, 9 sizes, guys. I want to make sure that everybody's covered from the really small. You can even do, okay, Thanks, Bonnie. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you doing that. So I always like to make sure that everyone can fit in these. I like, you know, if teenagers want to wear this, my daughter loves this, you know, so she would wear this. If she's a young adult now, but I mean, as a teenager, there's teenagers out there who have commented on this. And then any of you who are like me that are the curvy girls, you can wear these too. This is not something that is just for the tiny girls. And then at the neckline, I did a turtleneck, but you could easily take that off and just do like single crochets just to finish it off and not do the turtleneck. I liked that as just made it a different little feature, but you can, you know, I like it when you guys change up my patterns. So go for it. If you don't like something about it, go for it and then show me what you did. I really love that. Okay, the next pattern is Le Simplicità, which is simplicity. And this is probably everybody's favorite when I posted this on Instagram. This is Le Simplicità. It's a cardigan. And it's a very basic cardigan. Again, drop sleeves. I did that on purpose because I wanted all of these patterns to be very approachable for even new crocheters. So that's why we have drop sleeves. Only shaping is up here in the neckline and in the sleeves to taper the sleeves. You can adjust the length of the sleeve to whatever you want to make it fit you. Is a 3/4, is a half, as a short sleeve, long sleeve, whatever you want. I designed it as a 3/4 sleeve. Again, at the bottom, I'm going to show you the back here. Very simple chain mesh. Very traditional. Very simple lace. I'm going to see if I can show it to you here. There we go. So you got the simple lace, and then it's all double crochet once you get to the end of the lace. Easy buttonholes to put in. And I chose buttons that kind of match the fabric, but with a little pop of black there to make them stand out. But you could do, you know, different buttons. You could do all sorts of stuff to make it your own. This pattern I did in Black Trillium Silken Lace yarn. Black Trillium is another one of my all-time favorite dyers. However, she just closed down her shop probably about a month ago, and I'm looking for somebody who has a lace weight that's very similar to this. Black Trillium and I have been working together since, oh boy, 2008. I think. I used to do a sock club, and she special dyed yarn for my sock club back then. And we've been working together ever since. I love her yarns, all of her bases, and she has decided to move on into a different direction in her life, and I'm going to miss her greatly. So this is a 50-50, I believe, lace. 85% merino and 15% mulberry silk. So if anybody has a lead on a company that does a lace or a lace weight yarn that's merino silk like this, let me know so I can let people know of an option that's similar to this. But this is her raspberry colorway. I just loved it. It reminded me of all the bougainvilleas that you see in Italy. On the doorways and stuff like that. So that's my second to the last. Now the last one is Uncinetto Legato, which is Crochet Legacy. If you've been following me from the beginning of my career back in 1998, Crochet Legacy was the first name of my business, which I am so excited to bring that name back, because that was such near and dear to my heart. It was named for my grandmother, again, that I was her legacy in crochet. So I wanted to do a shawl in that kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, kind of encompassed what she taught me back in the day when I was first learning. So it's a very simple shawl. The main body of the shawl is just double crochets and chain stitches, and, you know, like double crochet, chain one, double crochet to make the eyelets. And what I did was I took a very unique Italian edging that has puff stitches. Now, I've always said everything is two-dimensional, not three-dimensional, but with the exception of puff stitches. But these puff stitches, if you notice in lace weight, they're very flat. And Italian crocheters used to always use lace and fingering weights, and they did a lot of doilies and tablecloths and altar cloths and things like that. So they used a bulkier stitch. It was a flatter stitch like these are, the puff stitches in there. And again, of course, the edge of the edging is a chain loop, and then I went back and single crocheted over the top of it to give it that Italian flair of you know, the finishing on the edging. So this is done in the Stunning string. This is the first time I've used Stunning string, and I really love their yarn. They're lavish lace, and the color's Deep Water. And it's a very simple shawl as well. And the edging is not as hard as it looks. It's actually super simple. And I highly recommend it for a beginning crocheter who's wanting to learn to work with lace. All of you know, if you've gone through all of these, this is the last project in the book. If you've been following me for the last probably 10 years, you know that I primarily work in lace weight and fingering weight. However, every single one of these patterns can be made in a heavier weight yarn. That being said, you've got to, how do I even say this? You've got to change your gauge a little bit. For like the shawls, you're gonna, if you want to follow the pattern exactly to the T, you're gonna know these shawls are gonna be a lot bigger. If with the garments, you're gonna have to adjust your gauge so that you get the right sizing. And then all bets are off when it comes to the yardage. So something you're going to have to figure out on your own if you decide to use a different weight of yarn. However, I always recommend I always put in the books the brand of yarns that I use so that you can find something comparable if you can't get that yarn. Like now, Black Trillium's lace is gone. We have to find something that's comparable on the lace weight schedule, on the lace weight side of things. So I'm hoping to find somebody that has a lace mulberry silk, a merino mulberry silk blend in lace weight to recommend in place of that. However, you don't have to use a lace that's mulberry silk and merino. You could use an acrylic lace if there's one out there. You could use a solid merino lace weight. The most important thing is that you get your gauge if you're using the same weight of yarn. And I can't even stress how important that is, unless you don't care how big or how small the shawl turns out to be. Got that, guys? I know gauges is a pain, but if you want something to fit properly, especially garments, you've got to do a gauge swatch. So does anybody have any questions for me so far on this? I just wanted to make sure that I showed you all these. I have a few other things I want to talk about. But if you have questions, go ahead and post them, and I'll read them off and answer what I can. The book is live on my website right now. Let me give you the link. I need to pull it up really quick. But the book is live to pre-order. And with the pre-order, you will get a goodie bag. And I buried the goodie bag underneath all of the projects. Let me put these over here. I'll reform again. Here we go. Okay, so you can order the book. Coming back to my screen here. I'm going to put the link. Oops. There is the page that you can order the book from. Thank you, Anna Louisa. I'm very excited about my new book. I mean, it's still in pre-sale, so no one's really going to get it in their hands until June 2nd, or maybe a little bit before for those pre-ordered. Oh, thanks, Linda. I'm so glad you like the projects. I'm really excited about them, too. They're a lot of fun to make. And this is one of the first books that I made every single project in it. I didn't design it and then have a stitcher make them. I crochet each and every one of these on purpose because I wanted to be the one to make them and think about my nonna. And you know, if I wanted to change something midstream because I thought of something she said, I could do that. So every single project I crocheted, and I am so thrilled with how they turned out. Okay, so I just posted the link of where you can order the book if you want, and I have goodie bags. The custom stitch marker. It's an olive branch because olive branches are very, you know, you think of Italy or Greece when you think of olive branches. So I had to have the olive branch. Olive branches are also speckled throughout the book as far as little extra graphics to make it pretty. The first 100 orders will receive the goodie bag, which includes this, and there's 2 coupons in here. One is for my website. You'll get 20% off your next pattern order, and that's as many patterns as you want to order in one order. You'll get 20% off my patterns. And then Emma's Yarn was so gracious. Her mom owns 4 Pearls Yarn Shop, and her yarn is sold through 4 Pearls mainly. I mean, she's in other shops too, so if you have local yarn shops, you might want to check them out. But 4 Pearls gave us a 20% off coupon of all the Emma's Yarn you have in your cart. So if you want to make any of the projects in Emma's Yarn, and she has everything from, I don't know that she has lace. Karen McKenna, do you know if she has a lace weight yarn? I can't remember. But she goes up to a bulky. I know fingering to bulky for sure. She has a DK, a new DK that just came out, and I believe a new bulky that came out. I could be wrong about the bulky too now that I'm thinking about it. But she has beautiful colorways. I can't even tell you some of the colors that are gorgeous. I'm going to be working with her yarn more in the future, so be watching for that. But you have a coupon in here as well. And there's supposed to be a couple other things that are coming, but I couldn't wait any longer because you guys are already starting the pre-orders and I need to get them ready. So if those do arrive, I will announce what they are. And they won't be inside the bag. They'll just be in the package with the rest of the goodie bag. They just haven't arrived yet, and I don't know if they are going to arrive. So because I haven't been able to get a hold of the companies that said they would be sending them, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to get the goodie bags ready. So that comes free with the book. So when you order a book on my website, only on my website, you get, if you're one of the first 100, you'll get the goodie bag. But regardless of where you are in the ordering process, everybody will get a print book that is autographed. I will sign every book. If you would like me to sign it to you, your name, let me know in the notes. I didn't mention that to all my pre-orders. So if you want to just shoot me an email and just say, hey, Karen, can you put my name in the book? I will do that when I'm processing everything. And then you will also receive a free copy of the digital version of the book that will be in your inbox on June 2nd, the day the book goes live for sale, that everybody can order it and get their copy immediately. So you will get a free digital copy. So, and what's really nice about it is the way I serve the digital copy. It's a program called Book Funnel. So you're going to want to watch for that when you pre-order. On the 2nd, you'll get an email from Book Funnel saying you can download your book. And you can choose if you want just a PDF version, or if you have a Kindle, you can get the Kindle version, or if you've got Apple books, you can get the Apple version, you can get the Kobo version, you can get the Nook version. They're all available. So whatever version an e-reader you want to use, or if you want to just use your computer in a PDF, you can do that too. So make sure you watch for that. And I know that sometimes ends up in people's spam folders, but at the bottom of your receipt, I say something about the digital patterns, and because all my patterns come that way as well as my books. Say something about look for a book funnel email. Linda, my grandma was from Sicily. She couldn't speak English, but understood us kids, made the best spaghetti meatballs. Oh yes, my nonna, she's from Tuscany, and she spoke English, but she didn't speak it very often, and it was very broken. So I totally get that. But she made herself understood, and she understood us. So my Italian is actually my first language until I was 2 years old. All I spoke was Italian. And then when my grandmother died in 1992, when my grandmother died in 1992, my mom and my aunts stopped speaking Italian so much. And so I kind of lost some of it, but you know, if my mom starts talking Italian, I can just go right back into it. It takes me a while. I can read it really well, and I can write it. It takes me a little longer to write it than it does to read it, but to actually conjugate in my head and speak it sometimes takes a while. So, and my family always says, you know, it's always the 3 girls. There's 7 grandchildren on that side of the family, and the 3 girls got the Italian. The boys don't speak Italian very much at all. So, yes, Linda, I will autograph yours. I'll make a note as soon as I go get off the live feed. Karen McKenna, it looks like Super Silky might be lace, but it doesn't read lace or fingering. Oh, on Emma's Karen. I think you're right. I think I think Super Silky is the fingering, because I think that's what I used for Finestrelle, which I buried at the bottom. Let me see here. Is it Super Silky that I used? Oh, I don't have the tag on this one. Let me look. Hang on one second. In the back of the book, I also have all the information. Yeah, Super Silky. It's a fingering. It's a fingering weight. So, okay. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys. Bye, Bonnie. Thank you for watching the trolls for me. I appreciate it. Have a great day, Bonnie. The last thing I want to talk about before I get off the call is that I also have 4 other self-published books. And right now, they are all 50% off on my website. And when you order them off my website, you get the print book and you get the digital version of all of the books. So that's the way I do everything up. Oh, does 4 Pillows already have it up in my shop? In the shop? Oh, awesome. Okay, so I got to talk to her then, because I got to get those books to her. Okay, so the first book is Pineapple Passion. This was last year's book. This book is all, there's 5 patterns in it. There's shawls, 2 shawls, a skirt, a tunic, and a cardigan. Here's the cardigan, the bottom of the cardigan. Here's the tunic. Here's the skirt. Here's one of the shawls. And here's the other shawl. All of these are done in, well, all of them are done in lace weight from Universal Yarns. Don't let me remember what the name of it is. It's, except for one of the big shawls. It's Fibra Natura Whisper Lace. Except for this shawl with Pineapple Passion shawl. And that one is done in, Pineapple Dreams is done in Classic Shades Sequins Light. This one actually has sequins in it, which I absolutely adore. Here's a big picture of it. So this one's on sale. It's regularly $17.95. And it's on sale this for a while now. It's been on sale for $8.98. So if you're interested in this, you'll get both the digital and the print for that price. Then in 2018, I released Coastal Crochet. This is probably one of my most favorite books I've ever published. It's about the coast. Everything in here is about the coast. It's shawls, garments. I've got a hat and scarf set. I've got a scarf. Mostly shawls. Oh, I've got a cowl and fingerless mitts in here. So there's a lot of different things in here. This one is regular $24.95 and it's on sale for $12.48. Again, you'll get the print and the digital copy if you want that. Okay, then in 2017, Garden Shawls, which is my all-time best-selling book as of right this moment. It's still selling like hotcakes on Amazon, which blows my mind how well it's selling. This is 12 shawls done in fingering and lace weight yarns. Again, this one is regularly $24.95 and it's on sale for $12.48. And you'll get both the digital and the print version. So there's, I'll just flip through these. Fingering and lace weight again. And then back in 2012, I dipped my foot into the first time to self-publish books. And I have Crochet Rock Socks. I love crocheted socks. I always have. This is a book about socks that are based on rock and roll songs because I was a heavy metal girl in the 80s. So a lot of rock and roll is big. And so there's everything from Elvis Presley to Bon Jovi in here and everything in between. I got Born in the USA. I've got Brown Sugar if you're a Rolling Stones fan. Elvis Presley. I've got Blue Suede Shoes. And each pattern has not only the pattern, but it's got a little story about why I picked that, like Bon Jovi. If you know me, I am a huge Bon Jovi fan. I have been for more than 35 years now. They're my favorite band of all time. So I talk about how I discovered them, why the song, what socks mean, that kind of thing. And every picture, like this is the gal who is modeling the socks. She's dressed like John Bon Jovi. And all the pictures are made to look like the record albums and things like that, or things that were, so like Deadheads. We've got the yoga pose. And we've got We Are the Champions with the iconic Freddie Mercury stance kind of thing. So this book is regularly $15.95 and it's on sale for $7.98. And you'll get both print and digital. It's a great book for people who've never done socks before. And one of the things I want to mention with all of my books and all of my patterns, I support them 100% across the board. So you can contact me if you're struggling with making any of my patterns. But I know socks are the big one that a lot of people kind of shy away from, and I will help you get through your socks. So, okay, Karen McKenna said, okay, so Brad's mom, let's go back. You ordered 2 books. Okay, but yeah, I can do both to Linda. I can absolutely do that. One of the other one's Garden of Shawls. Yep. A lot of people who pre-ordered yesterday with my newsletter subscribers pre-sale. A lot of you ordered Garden of Shawls. I'm amazed at how many of you guys did. Emma's only lace is, oh yes, she has the marvelous mohair. I forgot about that. Oh, and Malabrigo Silk Alpaca is a good replacement. I forgot about Silkpaca from Malabrigo, that they would be a good replacement for the Black Trillium silken lace that is no longer available. Awesome. I forgot about that one. So anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. One of the things I wanted to tell you too is that starting on June 2nd, which is the release date of the book, when the book actually absolutely comes out, from 11 to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So that would be 12, 1, 2 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. I will be doing a Instagram live along with my local yarn shop, Stilly River Yarns. We're going to do a virtual book launch. She and I am going to talk about we're going to go for 10 days. We're going to start on the 2nd, which is a Tuesday, and then Saturday is the last day of the first week. So the first 5 days will be Tuesday through Saturday. And I'm going to feature one pattern every day. And she's going to talk to you about yarns that you could use if you can't find the ones that I used as replacements. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're following me on Instagram. Just find Karen Hooley, no spaces or dots or anything in between. Follow me. And then you can also follow Stilly River Yarns, and I'll put her screen name in there. Oops, why didn't that work? Stilly River Yarns. There we go. You don't have to follow us both, but if you might want to follow just one of us so that when our streams go live, you can watch it. These streams, because they're live streams, they won't be held out there unless we save them to our what do you call it? The IG stories in our profile, which I might do if I can. I haven't done this before, so this is going to be a new thing for me, and I'm going to try it. But every day for a half an hour, you're going to hear me talk about each one of the patterns, just one of them that day, and she'll recommend some yarns. And you can order the books directly from me there if you want, or you can order them from Lindsay, who's the shop owner who will be with me, direct from her. And you can order the yarn if you like any of the yarns that she's going to recommend. Stilly is what I call a full service yarn shop. In fact, she coined that, but I agree with her. She does everything from helping you knit, crochet, weave, spin, even if you walk into her shop, she will recommend a restaurant in the area. She, if you have some other sort of problem, she has answers for everything. It's not just yarn. So she's a completely full service yarn shop, and she has followers from all over the country. So I hope you'll come and join us those days, at least one of them, and just see what we're all about. And then one day, I think it's June 10th, I will be on Instead of Lindsay being on that day, it'll be me and Nancy Torrance from Smutzarella Yarns, who is the one I told you she's my all-time favorite crocheter that lives just 4 miles that way. She and I will be talking about her pattern in the book together, and she'll recommend yarns and colors, and we'll talk about, she and I have been friends for a long time, so we'll just probably talk about a lot of different things. So I want to let you know about that, and that's it for today. So anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can always contact me through my website at KarenHooley.com. And I hope to see you soon next week. I'll be here the same day, same time. And I will talk to you later. Have a great day, everybody.